Well, you're in addition to MMA, you're known for boxing.
Yeah, I dabble a little bit in MMA, not so much anymore.
Number one of the number one boxing channels online. We're here, Andre Ward, Sergey Kovalev. I don't think this fight is getting the coverage that I think it should. Is that a fair assessment from you being here?
I think it has a lot to do with this is both fighters' first foray into pay-per-view. Kovalev has a name. Andre has a name because he's the last Olympian from the U.S. to win a gold medal. But they haven't been on this stage before. It's their first time, so I think that has a lot to do with it.
Well, what about Kovalev and Bernard Hopkins?
Well, that was in a pay-per-view.
But wouldn't you say that's a big stage?
But there's levels. There's HBO main event, and then there's a pay-per-view. A pay-per-view is a different beast. It's a lot more. You got to have a really big name to garner a lot of buys because.
But both guys are in the top 10 pound for pound. Why do you think they're not household pay-per-view names?
Well, it's just they're not there yet. You know, you have a guy in Kovalev that English is limited. He's learning his English, but a lot of people don't know him yet. And here's the other thing too: it's very hard to go into the mainstream. You got to do something extraordinary. You're seeing with Manny, the reason why he went in the mainstream is he had a really crazy story. He went from selling donuts on the street to knocking people out that were 20 pounds heavier than him, and then doing it in 8 weight classes. So, and then he had a whole nation behind him, and then he gets these spectacular knockouts where he's just murking fools, you know. So that's the mainstream. With Floyd, it was the undefeated record. He could talk to talk. He backs it up, and then the money character is what really put him over to the mainstream. What we're seeing with Canelo and Gennady, they're tipping. They're getting closer and closer to falling into that. Conor, he talks, but he gets spectacular results, and it pushes him. And the UFC marketing machine is a lot more well-rounded, complete. They know how to push and market their fighters a lot better than the boxing industry as a whole. So all those are factors that fall into it. You know, Andre, I would think, would be one that could, given that he's a good-looking guy. He's probably the best fighter, American-wise, that we have in this country right now. He won the gold medal. So to me, it should, but then it has a lot to do with he doesn't get a lot of knockouts. And in combat sports, getting a knockout is king.
Floyd Mayweather, though.
Yeah,
but you can point to Floyd.
No, but here's the thing. People don't know. Floyd was a badass up until a certain point in his career when his hands were getting hurt. When you see Floyd at the Corrales fight, the Chop Chop fight, all these other fights, Floyd would put it on fools. He was exciting to watch. And then he started having hand problems, and that's when he switched up the style and became defensive. But when you look at Floyd, his, I want to say, first 18, 19 fights, he was an exciting fighter. Really, really exciting, you know, and that's what a lot of people forget about Floyd. But you bundle that in with the undefeated streak, and then the creation of the money character, and then the platform was 24/7. At that point, they had never done it before. So that really pushed them. And then when they fought, that was the biggest pay-per-view of all time. So those were already good little pushes that pushed him into. I would say he didn't really cross over until he did the Dancing with the Stars thing, when he became more of a household name, and then he went and did the WWE thing as well. You know, those things, of course, helped. But it's a combination of a lot of little things. It just doesn't happen in your first pay-per-view or happen in a few HBO fights. This is a long, drawn-out process.
Well, these guys are 33 and 32. They're not spring chickens. They've been around. They're 30-0. What do you anticipate this pay-per-view doing? Do you think it beats the Canelo Liam Smith, which I don't even think that should be him fighting Smith should have been a pay-per-view, or even the Pacquiao versus Vargas? How do you anticipate this pay-per-view going?
I hope it does well, to be honest. I really do hope it does well because these guys deserve it. They're two of the best that boxing has to offer, and it's a fight that we don't get to see a lot in this sport. In MMA, we get to see it all the time, but not in boxing, you know. So I really do hope it does well, and I really do hope that it gets a good pay-per-view buy, because I think that out of all the fights that were made this year, this is probably, on this stage, the best and most competitive, and the one that a lot of people are seeing it a pick'em, or a lot of people are seeing it as 50-50, or if not, skewed just a little tiny bit to one person or the other. So I'm hoping that it does well. Now, is it going to do well? Is it going to be like a Canelo pay-per-view or a Pacquiao pay-per-view? I don't know. Canelo has a bigger name. He's been on pay-per-view a lot longer. Manny's been on pay-per-view the last 8-9 years. You know, so there's already built-in fan bases there. So we'll see. You know, I really do hope, though, that it's successful, because if there's two guys that should be getting the attention, it's these two, given what they've done in the ring, given that they're two of the best right now in the division, and they're putting it all on the line there.
Now, this fight is billed pound for pound. Do you agree that whoever wins this fight should be pound for pound number one in the world?
Definitely, I think so. I've had Andre Ward as the second best fighter in the world for a long time, even when he was inactive. I kept telling people he's the second best fighter compared to Floyd. But with Floyd gone, I even still say it. You can make a very strong argument that Andre Ward is the best fighter in the world right now. Now, with this fight, seeing that Sergey's also on the top 5, I think you can say with confidence the winner should be considered pound for pound. Now, you're going to have people say, well, what about Lomachenko? You know, what about Rigondeaux? What about Golovkin? You know, and
or Chocolatito,
or Roman, which, you know, Roman, I don't think the pound for pound best fighter in the world should be going life and death with somebody like he did against Carlos Cuadras. To me, if you go life and death like that, you're not pound for pound best fighter. It was a close fight, and
some even had the other.
Yeah, he took a lot of punches in that fight too. It wasn't vintage Chocolatito, but because of that fight, it made my belief that Andre should be put higher than Roman. Now, with that said, I think the way it's being marketed and the way that people generally agree that Andre is either number 1 or number 2, and Sergey is either 4 or 5, that you could say without a doubt the winner gets that mythical standing of being the best pound for pound.
Now, let's break down the actual fight. I know you broke it down many different ways with many different personalities and people, but how I see it is Kovalev has the power. He has a knockout power. Andre Ward has that mental capability to keep on going, to fight through, to make adjustments, kind of like a Floyd, where he's able to change his game plan as it goes by. How do you break down this fight, and who do you see winning?
I want to give a slight advantage, if I had to pick, to win this fight to Andre Ward via, I want to say, a unanimous decision. I could see a unanimous decision, but I could also see a split decision. How I see it, I think it's really the first 5 rounds are going to be crucial, and I think it could end up being a very slow-paced, very methodical fight, a fight in which we see Andre picking his spots and kind of lulling Sergey into his rhythm so that he has a low punch, a volume output, so that all the shots that are scored are the clear shots on Andre Ward's part. I can see that because when Andre's fought other fighters that have big punches, that's what he's done. Saying that, though, Andre's never fought a guy who could punch the way that Sergey can punch. This guy's a murderous puncher. And just we saw with the Hopkins fight, one punch can change everything. And it's very possible that Sergey can land because Sergey is extremely underrated when it comes to his boxing ability. The guy's legit. And he proved that against Bernard Hopkins. And if you really watch Sergey, he has really, really solid boxing fundamentals. He comes from the Russian school. Those guys don't mess around. Those guys know their boxing. But I do expect at some point to Andre to really, really show his ability to adapt. And the one thing with Andre Ward that I've always been most impressed with, he has this crazy way of taking what you do, the best thing that you can do, and he takes it away, or he does it better than you. And I've seen him do it time and time and time again, and I think that he's going to be able to do it because he has more dimensions in the arsenal than Kovalev does. We know Kovalev is going to come in and he's going to try to punch and take this guy out. And Ward can adapt, and he's shown his ability to adapt, and I really think that is going to put him over in this fight.